We're back. John Fredericks Radio Network. This is a special edition of the John Fredericks Radio Network. We're here live in Fredericksburg at a Trump-Pence victory rally. John Pence will be here. He's the nephew of Vice President Mike Pence. He'll be here, senior advisor with the campaign, as well as many of the local Trump officials are here. Also, we're looking forward to seeing, Rob Whitman will be here. Nick Freitas right now running for Congress, 7th District Republican. He's with us right now. Also, Tommy Hicks, the co-chair of the RNC, will be here at 7 p.m. We got another 30 minutes, and then we're going to go live. I'm the MC of the event tonight. But Nick Freitas, you're running for Congress in the 7th, so you always talk about that. But you're also serving in the House of Delegates. You're a House of Delegates member, and you had a special session today, and we heard there was chaos because nothing really got done. Now, the Senate, on the other hand, hit the gavel at noon and went about their business and had their meetings. Not so much in the House. What happened?
Well, I mean, we had some problems right off the bat, just getting preliminaries out of the way and getting education on how we were going to do voting and things like that. And it's frustrating because a lot of these things could have been done beforehand. A lot of the information, I mean, we didn't even get the agenda until 45 minutes before. And again, some of this, I understand maybe there's problems, maybe we have issues, and then some of it is pure politics with the majority basically picking on the minority and not giving us the information that we need. But there's two things that were incredibly frustrating today. There's been a huge debate on whether or not the General Assembly should be permitted to meet and hold committee meetings remotely. The Democrats universally favor it. We universally have a problem with it for a couple of reasons. One of the primary ones is just basic transparency. The reason why we meet in Richmond, the reason why we do these committee meetings is so that everyone can be involved in that. They can watch over screen, but if they want to physically show up and they want to see their legislators at work and they want to comment on it and they want to speak to it, they can. And now we're creating a situation where we're going to try to do this over Zoom calls. And even if you don't have technology issues, which anyone that's been on a Zoom call knows that you potentially can, even if there wasn't security issues, which everyone knows that there potentially is, I want you to imagine the power you've just given someone now that is managing that Zoom call, whether it's the chairman or whoever it is, to just decide that, well, they didn't see your request to speak button, or they didn't see that you wanted to comment or to engage with the committee. It's problems like that, and the House Democrats have the authority to do it. They can change it, but whenever you're going to do a rules change, you got to go through a 5-day reading. And that's a cooling off period. It's a chance for everyone to understand what the new rule is going to be, because this governs the way the House conducts itself. It's serious. Well, we told them, we voted no. We said no, we want 5 days to discuss this, potentially negotiate, figure out a better way to do this to where the public can still be actively involved. And their response was to come back like 20 minutes later, after they already told us we were going to come back anyways, and say, well, no, we've got a new resolution that's just going to give the Speaker the authority to do it. And we said, okay, parliamentary problem here. You are still changing the rules. There are rules to changing the rules. And their attitude was, well, we just see it as a new interpretation. And I'm sitting, and Minority Leader Todd Gilbert did a great job addressing this and just talking about how absolutely arrogant it was to do that. And this is what happens when politicians do just get drunk with their own power, their own hubris, and they start changing rules like this, and it never occurs to them that you are setting a precedent that is now going to be followed by future General Assemblies and future speakers. So instead of these rules protecting both sides and ensuring that we have an orderly and civil process, we like to call it the Virginia way, now it's just going to be, well, I'm in charge now, and so I guess I'm just going to ram whatever I want. And that is not the way that we're supposed to do business. That's the way D.C. does business. It's not the way we're supposed to do business. But since the Democrats have taken over, that's it. And if that wasn't bad enough, one of the other things they voted was that now that we're going to have remote meetings, so now the delegates can be at home in their pajamas on a Zoom call at a committee meeting, they're also going to get per diem while they're there.
Come on.
No, they're going to get per diem. We all voted against the Democrats.
How do you
voted
get
for
per
it.
diem if you're staying at home?
That is an excellent question.
The whole premise behind per diem is to cover your expenses for being on the road.
Bingo. But you know,
they'll probably get mileage too because they have to go upstairs to their lofts.
Well, again, it's not like they're spending their money, right? They're spending our money.
How do you get per diem when you're not going anywhere?
Well, that certainly was our question.
Well,
right?
y'all have got to. You shouldn't. The Republican caucus should say we are not taking per diem.
Oh no. We all voted against it. It shouldn't be done. We're opposing it. We opposed it there. But again, this shows you the genuine difference at a time right now where small businesses are struggling, where people don't know whether or not where their kids are going to go to school.
How much is per diem now?
Oh gosh,
it's like $200.
I have to go
right?
back and look. Yeah, well, lodging and per diem together goes up over $200. But it's an
extra $200 a day to not do anything but stay in their homes and do what they would have done anyway,
yeah.
and not allow the public to be a part of it.
Or to at least make it significantly more difficult for them to be a part of it. But again, that's where you see the difference.
As a former
in
legislator, I'm absolutely outraged that they would change the rules
Mm-hmm.
in a matter of course and not go through the prescribed 5-day waiting period to get public input. That's what it's designed for. When the House of Delegates, the representative democracy for the Commonwealth of Virginia, says we're going to change the rules on the fly, you should be scared.
Yeah.
As a citizen of the Commonwealth, you should be scared.
Yeah. No, and
I'm not that guy. I'm not an alarmist
you're
by
not.
any stretch of the imagination, John. But when you fundamentally change the way the government is organized and structured, something is seriously wrong.
Yeah.
Well, I don't normally see you get this animated, Chris Saxman, but I know
The
you served in the House.
rules are important when it comes to governing.
And the fact is, all you guys ask for is follow the rules, and it's going to take you 5 days. You're going to have to stay here 5 days. I mean, I had Scott Servo.
Oh, no. You didn't even need to stay there 5 days.
Just wait 5 days.
They could have put it into pro forma session, had a couple people open it up. That's the 5-day reading part, and then we all come back on Sunday. And then now we've had an opportunity to talk, to negotiate, to decide, to have public input, to decide whether or not this is.
And they could have done the same thing with follow the rules, but they wanted to jam it down your throat so it starts immediately, so they can go home. What now?
Well, they showed us, right?
Can they go home now?
Yeah.
They
can
set
go
up
home
the
tonight.
center for this?
Yeah. Yeah.
So they sent the Siegel Center up, and did they all go home tonight?
Yeah.
They all went home.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
What in the hell?
No, we didn't address like any. We just now passed the resolution that talked about how many bills that we can submit. So you can submit 3 bills, and the bills have to fall under. Now, when I first heard about this, what we understood was the resolution was going to read criminal justice reform, law enforcement reform, and it was going to end COVID-19. Well, they added a different category on there, social justice. So here's my question. What exactly?
What the hell does that mean?
What doesn't fit into the category of social justice? Because literally, here's what that means. When Republicans submit a bill, it will now be heavily scrutinized on whether or not it falls within their categories. But when a Democrat submits a bill and it doesn't fall neatly into COVID-19 or doesn't fall neatly into...
They won't hear the bill.
Well, no. When a Democrat, it's social justice. Because it can literally be anything.
So what it means is Democrat bills will be heard, Republican bills will not be heard.
Well, that's certainly
There
what
won't
it's
be
set up
public
to
votes
do. That's certainly
on
what it's set up
Republican
to
bills.
do.
And how do you engage with your legislators on bills that are going to affect people's lives if they're scattered all over the state?
Oh,
how do you contact them? How do you lobby them as citizens?
You don't, at least not effectively.
You don't. It's period. It's not effectiveness whatsoever. It's completely unfair to the citizens of this Commonwealth to engage their elected representatives.
Look at it this way. Look at it this way, because one of the things that they talked about was, local, like boards of supervisors can do this. Like, okay, wait a second there, Haas. Before a local board of supervisor can do this, they have to give prior advance notice, they have to get approval, and then when they do it, they have to actually give the public their physical location. So if you want to show up and watch how they vote, you can do so. No such provision was made for the General Assembly. This is another case of, that's good for them, but no,
Congress
we're
doesn't do it this
special.
way. Congress doesn't do this. If you want to vote in Congress, you got to go to Congress.
And nobody should do it this way.
Absolutely not.
Again, every single one of these delegates that are just so terrified about being able to meet in a huge auditorium. We had enormous social distancing, if you saw this today. Social distancing, we had, masks, everything you could possibly want to keep a safe, secure environment.
It's not about safety.
No, it's about control.
That's right.
It is about control, and that's what's so frustrating about this. Because every single one of those delegates, I guarantee you, they're going to go home, they might go out and grab dinner, they might go to the store, and they will be worry-free. All of a sudden, it won't be a crisis. Or they might show up to a protest, and then there'll be no concern over the health care.
How do you meet and confer with your colleagues?
Zoom, text, phone. I mean, that's their whole idea.
On.
Yeah.
The whole magic of putting the legislature in one room at one time is that people can get together and have these sidebar conversations and go, you know what?
Yeah.
This is X, Y, and Z and A, B, and C.
Yeah.
And what do you think about this?
Mm-hmm.
They're not formal debates on the floor. They're informal debates off the floor when you're actually talking human to human.
Yeah.
This is absolutely outrageous.
Well, you saw it today on the General Assembly. We all haven't seen each other for a while. Both sides of the aisle come together talking. How are the kids doing? And again, there's that shared humanity that comes from being in the same location and talking about stuff. And you can always do it in a safe and responsible manner. But that's the way it's supposed to be done. And it's not that we do it that way, for lack of technological alternatives.
Senate's not doing that way, are they?
Well, no. I mean, I don't know what their latest is with the Senate, but no, my understanding is they were not. But
they went and had committee meetings today. They were organized. They knew what they were doing.
They were working.
Well, Saslaw got them organized in 20 minutes. Done.
Well, apparently the Senate Democrats were outraged because the House Democrats didn't get them the information to run the session. They were they asked, and apparently Saslaw said this on the floor, we have been asking the House and asking the House and asking the House to send us the information so we can get together and run this General Assembly, and they didn't do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you saw what was happening during the first several weeks of session,
that was a cluster.
It was really getting organized was a huge pain. It was really problematic. We were really late on bills.
This was in January when they first took over.
Yeah,
that was a complete mess.
And then they bragged about we got through all the bills. Well, yeah, you bragged through all the bills because you completely shut down debate on half of them. We saw a bill that was fundamentally changing the way that we would do business in Virginia with respect to public sector employee unions. They showed up. Delegate Guzman shows up on the floor. It requires 6 additional floor amendments. And then when I get up to ask a question, Guzman's response is, this bill had a full hearing in committee. You just changed it 6 times on the floor.
Was this the collective bargaining bill?
Yes.
She not only changed the bill on the fly.
Delegate Guzman,
who's running for lieutenant governor.
Yeah.
Who's running for lieutenant governor, refused to explain the bill on the House floor.
Yeah.
Refused to explain the bill.
Of course, she had the votes.
Her colleagues, which is arrogant as hell, that her colleagues supported her and refused to take questions on the bill. She didn't explain the bill, and no one took any questions.
Yeah. Oh, we saw
on
this
a complicated piece of legislation, which is basically now police unions coming to Virginia, which is the problem in Minneapolis.
How long are Virginians going to put up with this? This is basically
they got to know about it first.
We are going to find out.
Well, that's the toughest thing. I got to put this in the Virginia Star the next day. I can't get in tomorrow, but I got to get you to talk to one of my people in an interview and get this out there, because it's not going to be in the Richmond Times-Dispatch tomorrow. It's not going to be on Michael Bills's whatever it is, Mercury. It's not going to be there. There's not going to be anywhere. In fact, they're going to be applauding it, saying what a brave and bold decision caucus of the corn made so the people don't get sick. That's what they're going to say.
They'll cover for them. It won't be covered.
They'll cover for them,
and they know this. And because look, if they tried to pull this stunt 20 years ago when I was in the House, the Washington Post or the Richmond Times would have absolutely crucified us for weeks.
Oh, well, I've got to give
weeks.
I'm sorry, the Washington Post, you see this today with the latest reporting that they've done, whether it was with China, whether it was with Hong Kong, whether it was with Trump's brother, I mean, whatever it was. I got to give full credit to a good friend of mine, Christian. He said it best. He goes, democracy dies in darkness is not the masthead of the Washington Post. It's their new mission statement. And I think he's absolutely correct. And it is so frustrating to watch this because, one of the most important institutions that we have in the United States is a free press. It is by far one of the most important institutions. But when you see more and more members of the press that have pretty much given up on their responsibility to be objective journalists, or, if you want to be an editorialist, great. If you want to be an activist,
fantastic.
Wonderful.
Go for it.
But don't call yourself an objective journalist if what you're doing is activism and editorializing. And unfortunately, it's why we need media outlets like this, because otherwise we'd never have an opportunity to be able to talk about a different perspective on what went on today in Richmond.
And as John knows, it probably drives him crazy sometimes, I go overboard to be objective with everyone who comes on my show, every interview I conduct at Virginia Free, because no one else is doing it.
Yeah.
Without a history teacher and government teacher, I take that very seriously.
And we work hard to get this stuff out. Like Chris and I came up tonight, we set up, we give you the opportunity to host my show and get the word out and reach tens of thousands of people. This isn't easy. This isn't easy work, and there's not a lot of money in it. That's why people don't do it. But you just what Delegate Nick Freitas just said today, and then Saxman, Chris Saxman, your input. No one else has this in Virginia. No one knows what's going on.
Right.
And it's not going to get reported. Only on our show, we try to push it out, and on the Virginia Star, and that's it. And it's sad because, like you said, democracy dies in darkness now seems to be their mission statement. I guarantee you tomorrow, everything that you said, they totally applaud what Caucus of the Corn did and throw you guys under the bus.
Guarantee.
Well, you should have
guarantee it.
Rich Anderson should have a press conference tomorrow on the House floor. Not that he'll be allowed to. Eileen won't be there to stop him.
He can have it on the steps.
He can have it on the steps, wherever. Have the press conference and say what happened today, this power grab is an absolute travesty for democracy, and and organize.
Well, he should
and
have
get
it,
the message
or Todd should have it. Somebody should have it.
Someone
but
needs to
no
say
one
this.
will have it, and it'll
Well,
go in darkness.
Todd immediately went. Not only did he bring it up on the floor, and he gave a very, very good argument for why this was problematic and why this was completely out of order. And then he immediately went over talking. And here's the interesting part: the press can't say they didn't see it. The press can't say that Todd didn't. There wasn't a Republican response. I see so many Republicans say, "You guys don't do anything." Well, I was sitting there right there, and I was watching us do something. And then Todd went over there, and he sat there and spoke, completely surrounded by all of your quote-unquote mainstream press, right? And he gave him comments, and he told him what the problem was, and he explained the dangerous precedent that was being set. Now, what we all have to do now is watch how did they report it.
That's right.
How did they report it?
We'll see.
Yep, we will.
We're
going to see that tomorrow.
This is a gut check for our American press corps here in Virginia.
Well, and certainly an opportunity to see what the Times-Dispatch will say, what the Pilot will say.
Well, then it also has to be editorialized.
Yeah.
And
they're
they're
not
not
gonna do that
doing
either.
that.
Yeah.
No.
I'm going to do it, though.
You should.
I'm going to do it. The Virginia. Look, that's why.
TheVirginiaStar.com. TheVirginiaStar.com.
Go to TheVirginiaStar.com. It's not going to be on there tonight. I don't have the staff, but we're getting there. But this is exactly why we made the investment in the time and effort, Nick, to start TheVirginiaStar.com for just what happened today, because it's not going to get reported anywhere else.
Because this is one of the hallmarks of American democracy is protecting minority rights.
Yeah.
In our democratic process, this is why that process is set up, so that everyone can understand that the rules are going to change. Now, the rules will change anyway, but the reason they did it in the time that they're doing it is to jam it through so they can get in and out and not have any problems with the special session. But they're already screwing that up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and again, it's one of those things where Mitch McConnell said this very thing to Harry Reid. When Harry Reid did the nuclear option with judges and whatnot, he told him, he goes, "You are going to regret you did this far sooner than you expect." And sure enough, they did.
300 judges later, look what they got.
Yeah.
It's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
The rules are there to protect both political parties from their excess, from their greed, from their arrogance.
Outrageous.
Yeah.
But the arrogance of caucus of the
our
corner of the
caucus would
Democrats
never
is
have stood that
unbelievable.
if Speaker Howell tried to do this.
Yeah.
We'd have said you can't do this.
Bill never would have. Speaker Howell
He
would have
wouldn't
never done that.
No.
No.
Bill Howell, we're close to his old district.
Yeah.
He was the one that stopped the redistricting that would have benefited the Republicans that the Senate tried to jam through, and he said, "This is not how we do it."
Yep.
Right.
To
He's
his
the one that
credit.
stopped it.
To his credit.
But now that will never happen because it's all power and politics.
But this is what you have to do. If this is how the game is going to be played going forward, this is a very dangerous and dark day for Virginia.
Well, you guys got to start fighting back. I mean, there's got to be, there's got to be press conferences. You guys just got to raise hell because I mean, what they did, the way you guys have described it, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, the
grab.
reason why you have all of these rules and procedures to go about these things is so that you can't make sudden changes. One thing that scares the business community to death is uncertainty. Yeah. And if you can jerk the wheel of power to your whim of this political party right now and the way some of these people are acting and behaving towards business, this should scare the business community to their core.
I forget what commentator said it, and I know nobody wants to hear this, especially when there's a crisis, but the one commentator, I think it was George Will, who said that American political gridlock is not a problem, it's an achievement. And obviously, we have things like COVID where, we do expect the government to be able to put aside petty differences and respond and do what it needs to do, because the bottom line is we didn't set up the government to micromanage our lives. We set up the government to deal with large crises that we can't deal with as individuals. Unfortunately, the government is so busy interfering in a bunch of other things that it was never equipped or never designed to do, that it is large times, and this governor has proven it, unprepared in order to address things like a pandemic.
Well, as you know, as you've spoken so articulately about our American democracy, our republic, the way it functions, it is designed and set up to go slowly for the benefit of the rights of the people, so that government doesn't move too quickly. And people say all the time, "Oh, government doesn't get anything done." I said, trust me, you don't want them making quick decisions.
Well, it goes back to this.
You don't.
It goes back to this.
It's to scare the hell out of you. They're trying to make quick decisions.
And if you want a perfect example of why that is so important, whenever I talk to civic students, one of the first questions I ask them is, can you guys, I said, the public sector, the government sector, right? That's us. That's governor, that's legislators, police, etc. I said, then you have the private sector, business owners, you as individuals, the Lions Club, the Boy Scouts.
Right.
I said, can you tell me what the fundamental difference is between the government sector and the private sector? And they usually go, well, you vote in the public sector. You vote in the private sector.
Well, we have organizations, you come up with rules. You do that in the private sector. I said the government is the one institution that gets to use force to carry out what it wants. And the reason why we have a slow and deliberative process is not because these aren't important issues or not because we don't need to get things done. It's because we understand that when you are giving people the authority to use violence in order to achieve their end state, it better have had a deliberative process.
Exactly.
And if you don't believe that, go look at what every Democrat right now is crying for in criminal justice reform. The one thing they don't want to reform is themselves. And remembering that law enforcement lives at the business end of every stupid idea a politician had. And everybody would be a lot better off if before a Democrat said, oh, this is a great idea, it needs to be a law, they thought back to themselves, is this so important that I want somebody to use force in order to carry it out?
Absolutely stunning today, Mark. What I'm
we
hearing
got
on the House
5 minutes.
floor.
Joining us now, House of Delegates member Mark Cole,
Classmate of mine from 2001.
Along with former House of Delegates member in his own show, Chris Saxman, and also Nick Freitas with us, House of Delegates member and also running for Congress. Mark Cole, I got to tell you, the scene that Delegate Freitas described today was incredible. The power grab by caucus of the corn, getting rid of the 5 days, having bills without questions. And now you're getting per diems to stay home. What the hell is going on in there?
Well, it's I hate to say it, but I'm not surprised by the Democrats. I've known a lot of them for many years. I've fought them and worked with them for 20 years. And nothing that they're doing really surprises me. The Democrats, whether they won't want to admit this or not, but you cannot count on a Democrat to keep you safe. First, they want to make it almost impossible for a law-abiding citizen to be able to own a gun to defend themselves. Then they want to defund the police. And when a crisis hits, they'll order the police to stand down, leaving you defenseless. That this is not speculation. This is based on history and recent fact. They've done it in every major city this year. They did it in Ferguson. They did it in Charlottesville. Really, the Democrats, they're more concerned with making the rioters and looters happy than they are with protecting our citizens and our businesses.
Incredible. I mean, what was your level of frustration today, Delegate Cole, that they wouldn't even follow the rules for the 5 days wait period? That's the thing that I find incredible, because that's all they had to do was wait 5 days, reconvene Sunday, go home, reconvene Sunday, and then you guys could beef about it, but they followed the rules. Yeah. But they even circumvented that, and so the arrogant. I'm taken aback by the arrogance of that, Saxman. Maybe I'm focusing on the wrong thing.
Well, here's the thing. It's the arrogance is knowing they can get away with it.
Right.
It's not going to be covered. It's not going to be seen. It's not going to have any downside.
And a complete disregard for the history.
Complete disregard for the rules of the chamber.
The rules of chamber.
To say we're going to get this done because we can, not because we should. There's an inherent danger in that level of arrogance. And I know there's some members of that caucus who've got to be going, this is not the right thing to do. And they should have stood up and stopped it. I mean, I think of Ward Armstrong. I think of Kenny Melvin. I think of Gerald Jones. They would have said, "We're not doing this."
Yeah, it's just hubris, is what it is. They're in power now. They have the votes. Might makes right in there.
I will say this: there are people over there. There are people on that side of the aisle. Again, I always say, look, I may disagree with someone on policy. It doesn't make them a bad person. And there are good people. Here's the problem, though. I think they're terrified. I think they are absolutely terrified to run afoul of the more extreme elements within the Democratic Party right now, because they have proven they will dox you, they will primary you, they will come after your business. I mean, this is not just something where you and I have a disagreement on policy. This is now, if you disagree with the extreme left of their party, they're coming for you.
You're right. That's it.
When I heard from a lobbyist today that they hadn't even organized in the first 4 hours, hadn't even organized themselves, I said they are deathly afraid of getting primary. They don't know what to do.
You can't even attempt to be a statesperson in this environment because of the things that you just said. And the far left, the extremists, the mob, basically.
They're scared.
The mob has taken over, so they're scared to death. And I think you're going to get this now on a continual basis as they go forward. Look, we're out of time for this segment, the special edition of the John Fredericks Show. I want to thank House of Delegates member Mark Cole for being with us. I want to thank Chris Saxman, former House of Delegates member, and also Chris Saxman, host of the Chris Saxman Show. Heard weekly on WJFN network of stations 5 to 6. Also, House of Delegates member Nick Freitas, who took the whole thing out of the bag here and laid it out. We're going to put this on the Virginia Star. Take us a day, but we're going to get this up. Also running for Congress. He's going to be speaking here in a couple of minutes. We're going to continue with Facebook Live as we go through all the speeches here at Trump headquarters. Nick, thank you for being with us.
Oh, my
Appreciate
pleasure,
it.
Thank you very much.
Delegate Cole, thank you. The truth, my friends, will set us free.
That's right.
Now back to the news and then Larry Elder, regular programming. Stay with us, though, on Facebook Live on the John Fredericks Show.